going through a series called God's Blueprint for Health, Wealth, and Wisdom, because that's what we're all about. It's like old Ben Franklin said, teaching people to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. So last week we talked about breaking free from the scarcity mindset. Got a lot of good feedback on that. So hopefully you, the viewer slash listener, enjoyed it as well. And if you did, please make sure to give us that like. Take a second, but it does a lot for us. But today we're going to dive in a little bit deeper and talking about how to get out of debt and back in shape. So, you look at life and things like that. That's one of the two big challenges, or those are the two big challenges a lot of people face is, number one, I want to be in better shape every January, and we're kind of coming up on that end of March. So the end of the first quarter. And I'm sure some of us have fallen off that bandwagon. But we also want to talk about getting out of debt and why that isn't so important. But, both can weigh you down, limit
Mhm.
your freedom, keep you from thriving and being abundant with God's plan for you. Here's the good news, though: you can control both of these with the right plan and applying some biblical wisdom, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's like the two two biggest things we hear every year for resolutions are get out of debt or and get in better shape. Like
I
it's
know, seriously. It's like
but how many
Groundhog
people
Day.
don't do either one? I mean,
Well, it's
I'm
not for
guilty
lack
for
of
years.
trying, right? Yeah, it's not for lack of trying, but we lose steam or whatever the case may be. So we're going to actually dive into a little bit of that and recognize that, financial health, physical health, it requires stewardship, discipline, and most importantly, intentional action. Being intentional with your resources, being intentional with your time, which is a key resource. But, looking at kind of diving in, why debt and health? How does that even tie together? Right.
Mhm.
Well, one of the key verses, again, this is that biblical wisdom we're kind of bringing to the table here, is First Corinthians 6:19 through 20, or 19 and 20. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit? So, yeah, that's one of those things, and I've heard it in the past. I'm sure you have too, Wendy. That the bodies are your temple, right? That's showing God you're thankful for this life, and how are you treating your temple? And I'll be honest, sometimes I let it get a little sloppy. I'm not gonna lie,
Well, and
and it's
we have this culture of like, especially the American Christian church. It's like
yes.
all the fellowship is around food.
Well,
So
I'm a Baptist, so well, it's non-denominational, but it's built on Baptist, and my grandparents were Baptist, and yeah, it's like, I we hope to see you Sunday, but don't show up without a casserole, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's one of those things yeah, breaking bread and stuff like
yeah.
that. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's okay, but it's like anything, food can become a god, and you can become excess.
Mhm,
Are you eating to live, or are you eating because it's
mhm.
pleasurable and kind of taken over? But both of these, whether it's the food or poor health, not even just food, you don't have to be overweight. I used to refer to myself as skinny fat, meaning I wasn't like
Mhm,
overweight, but I was out of shape, and that's part of it too. Making sure you're getting in good shape. But
mhm.
whether it's debt or poor health, both of these come from lack of discipline, right? Could be stress
Mhm.
and short-term thinking, right? It's like, oh yeah, those that one cookie won't hurt you, or
Yeah,
those five cookies won't hurt you. Just being a little
yeah,
transparent there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's yeah, it's short term. It's short term living. It's like what makes me feel good today, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The For me, it's chips and dip, or or ice cream. Uh, but it's back to your bodies are a temple, like it is. We I think back to the Bible days and Noah and Abraham, and they lived for like hundreds of years, and it's like what changed? I mean, really what changed? And I saw something the other day that talked about like it's what we've done to ourselves, to our own bodies over time. I don't know how true that
Aspartame,
is. Yeah.
aspartame. That's what changed. So
But
no,
I mean,
go ahead. Go ahead.
we want more time on this earth to do the work God's called us to do, and we want it to be efficient. Like that's my biggest thing with when it comes to health and why I'm working out now. It's because I want to be strong to be able to make an impact for the rest of my life on this earth, not be like incapacitated the last 15, 20 years and not be able to do things, like
Mhm.
got work to do.
Well, that's the key, right? I mean, you get to later in life and, hopefully get to retire and enjoy things, but so many people can't because they're cruising around in their little, I forget what those things are called, the scooter deals. There's a term for it, but
Mhm.
and it's not, I don't think it's anywhere where anybody wants to be. It's just because we
Mhm.
don't plan accordingly. And that's really, again, whether it's debt or whether it's, um, just being out of shape or overweight, it comes from that impulse, right? I want
Mhm.
that snack, or oh man, I'm not really hungry. And I'm trying to get into a habit now of asking myself when all of a sudden I have a craving, or
Mhm.
whether it's something sweet or salty or something like that. Am I hungry, or am I just wanting to eat?
Right.
Do I have hunger pains, or just want to eat? But it's, the lack of planning. I've got friends that
Mhm.
do meal prep, and I talked to you about it. I'm like, man, I really want to learn how to do meal prep, because we do get busy, throughout our
Mhm.
lives and stuff like that. Or on the credit side, again, going back to what you just said about the instant
Mhm.
gratification, right? It's so easy just to pull out that credit card and swipe, or just tap it. You don't have to swipe it anymore. You just tap it, and poof, that item is magically yours now,
Mhm.
at the low payment of $20 a month, or whatever the case may be. And what happens is that starts to slide out of control.
Yeah.
And the next thing you look up and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm cruising around on my little scooter massively in debt. I mean, and
Mhm.
it's not a good place to be. That's not what life was intended